All right, we're live. We're here, huh? You know how I know I went live? Fluffy got up and doesn't know which way he wants to walk. Come on, buddy, settle down. Okay, go ahead and lay back down. We were just outside for a while. Good boy. I love you. I'll feed you when I'm done. Okay, come on, go ahead. Hey guys. Hey Dustin. Yeah, we're gonna have a good time tonight. Nick is gonna be here in a couple of hours. So he's driving. Unfortunately, the weather is terrible, so we're not going to be able to do much anything other than just hang out. So, and yeah, I agree about Bubba. I agree about Bubba. Um, somebody reminded me. Yeah, I mean, he got that rest last year, but remember, he had been struggling for a few games before he got sick and had that rest. So, um, all we can do is hope Maurice feels the same way. That's all we can do is hope that Maurice feels the same way. What do we got? We've got Canadians tonight, and then let me see, who do we have Thursday? I mean, there's really no reason not to give Stolars a couple of games. We got the Senators on Thursday, right? So we got Canadians, Senators. Give Bob the week off and let him play against the Bruins, and then give Stolars a few more games there. Why not? Worked for us last year. Jeremy says Kulikov should never see the ice again. um, I would like to disagree with you, but in this moment, that'd be tough. That would be tough. He had a look. He's been solid for us this year. But last night was not one of those nights. Last year, last night was bad. Last night was exceptionally, extraordinarily bad. I don't think he's going to just suddenly suck, right? Um, I didn't see the game where that Bournefoot got in. It's a little late. It's a little late in the season to be making any changes, but yeah, maybe he could sit a game. Maybe he should sit at least a game. You know what I mean? Hey, Damien. No, we didn't watch any. We don't watch any of the college sports. Hey, Sean, how you doing? Chris says, word of the day for last night's recap is maybe. Lots of questions closing out this regular season. The only thing that I can think of, I was thinking about this with Kyle today. If we can get it together now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you end the season on a 7-game winning streak and you really show that your engine is running, okay, all right, you know, that'll do. That'll do. But I've been on the record obviously saying they're just, they're conserving their energy. They're just waiting for the playoffs and all of that. And that's fine. I understand it. It's like I don't want them blocking shots and beating the crap out of each other. I'm not talking about that. But I mean, last night and in a lot of these games, it don't even look like they want to be on the ice. It looks like they are annoyed. They have to go out there and play. Like, can't we just skip the last 20 games, give us second or third place? They don't care, obviously. But the question is how long are they going to wait to, quote, turn it back on? Are they going to really just go the whole rest of the year like this? Or are they going to pick the Boston game and say, okay, you know, that's the game we're going to put it together. You know what I mean? Dustin wants to know, is Spencer Knight doing good in the AHL? Do you see a scenario where he gets called up after the Checkers run is over? Well, we can't call him up until till the postseason because of salary cap issues. We can't bring him up right now. So is it possible / likely that he'll get added to the roster for the playoffs? Sure, if we need somebody. But in terms of regular season, that's not going to be able to happen. Sean says, I slept on it. I'm reserving my thoughts until after game one. It's kind of almost the same way here, Sean, right? It's like everybody knows that we can play better than this. We see little comments, right? Like Montour yesterday said something to the effect of let them celebrate that win. So we keep seeing these little comments that, to be honest, kind of make it sound like they might be a little bit overconfident in their ability to just snap their fingers and be playing like they were against the Canes in the conference finals last year, which is why I brought up the 7 games. How many games are they going to wait, right? But right now, I mean, they don't want to be on the ice. they really don't. I've lost count how many times, and I'm talking everybody. I'm talking about Reinhart, Kachuk. I'm watching them literally just stand still and let the opposing team let them just go get the puck. Not challenging anybody, not wanting to touch anybody and get physical or anything. And there's Chris saying bad habits are tough to break. Yeah, it's one thing if you were going to have a 5 or a 10 game space where you didn't play all that well or the other teams were desperate for points. But this is dragging on a little bit long. This is dragging on a little bit too long for my liking. So we'll see how they respond tonight. I know we've been saying that for weeks around here. If they play the rest of the string like this and think they're just going to turn it on round one, I mean, we're most likely either going to have to play Tampa or Toronto. If we approach Tampa or Toronto the way we've been approaching these last couple of weeks, we're going to get asses kicked, and it won't be pretty. Yeah, IDK, that's the one thing I agree upon. Yeah, Jeremy, that's all I want to see is the effort, right? Like I said, hey, look, if Toronto goes out there and busts their ass, the other game, was it Detroit blocked like 30 shots, right? So if Detroit wants to block 30 shots because they're desperate to make the playoffs, that's fine. I don't need the Panthers to do that. But damn, act like you care, right? So who knows? For all we know, we could be sitting here after the first 3 games of the playoff series saying, well, I guess they can turn it on a dime. Only they know the answer. You know what I mean? The only guys that know the answer are the guys that are on the ice. Hey, Rosado, what'd you say, Julian? Let me see. Yeah, the Monty comment sounds cocky. Yeah, a little bit. Prague says maybe a bunch of guys are banged up. I don't know. Hopefully Verhaeghe's okay. I guess he hurt his shoulder, so hopefully it's nothing serious. Prague, I think the most likely thing is that, look, when they are playing at the height of their ability, they're extremely extraordinarily, not just the physicality, but they are basically bag skating up and down the ice the entire game when they're playing the best that they can. So it could be as simple as they have all consciously made the decision that they feel that they could play 25 games that way, but not 35 or 40 to end the season. So, I mean, I know I'm aware that it all sounds like excuses, but what else are we supposed to do as fans? This is the drop off the cliff, right, from where they had been. And I want to be clear on something. Now, the timing of all of this did coincide with the trade to get Tarasenko. I don't think that this is a chemistry thing because it's not really the offense that's fallen apart. It's the defense that's fallen apart, right? And then there's the Bob issue too, which hopefully I would love to see Stolarz go tonight. I think he will. And then let him get a few games in, right? Let him get a few games in. Julian says no to the comment before that, Jaws. 6 plays to the best of our abilities. Tampa won't let us play that way in the playoffs, least to be determined. Not sure I understand what you're saying. No to the comment before that. It's hard. It's hard because you guys, the chat's not keeping up with what I'm saying. In other words, you guys are responding to stuff that I said a little while ago, so it's hard for me to figure out. Um, I'm in gold tonight, eyes. Okay, all right. I got a bunch of comforters. We'll just strap me full of comforters, and that should be good. I need the extra padding. Figure report goalie controversy. Uh, I don't think so. I don't think so. However, it is kind of ironic that we were in this position last year where Bob got sick. First, he had a couple of bad games, then he got sick. Lyon came in, and we know the rest of the story. And Lyon played in the playoffs until it was time for him not to. The odd thing is that we're basically at the same point of the season, 7 games left here. And could we see a repeat of that? Could we see Stolarz play the next 5 and we win 5 in a row? Right? I don't think that we're going to see a situation where Bob doesn't start game 1, but there's no reason whatsoever where if Bob started a game 1 and he wasn't what we need, there's no reason not to throw Stolarz out there in a game 2, right? He's played really, really well. And based on what we saw last year when Bob had that rest right at the end of the season, he might just be a little bit tired right now. He might be a little bit worn out. And hopefully, if that's the case, the coaches will see it. Maurice will make the decision. And there's really no reason not to, at the very least, give Stolarz tonight and then Thursday. And then you let play, you know what I mean? If you give Stolarz tonight, you give him Thursday night, and then you play Bubba on Saturday against the Bruins. And then you give Stolarz Senators, Jackets, Sabres, and you let Bob end the season against Toronto, against the Maple Leafs. That would give Bob some rest, and that would also give Maurice a little bit more confidence in terms of Stolarz if we feel the need to insert him into the lineup. Meadow says I'd even start Stolarz against contenders. He can take it. I don't disagree. I says, how much rope do I give Bob in the playoffs before I pull him? I mean, it depends on who we're playing, what happens, right? You know, if we play Tampa and we lose game 1 because Vasilevsky has a 65 save shutout, right? So the one thing I would say that I would have done differently, even though it worked out, I know it worked out, and I said this when it happened, like when we beat Carolina in 2.5 games in game 1 or whatever it was, I was really surprised we didn't go to Lyon in game 2. So if that situation was to reoccur where we had multiple overtimes like that, I expect if we go on a long run, if we're going to win more than a series or 2 this year, I suspect we might see Stolarz for a game or 2. So we'll see how it goes. Praga, yeah, you agree about where to pay Bob and Stolarz, right? Yeah, keep Bob fresh for Saturday. We have a good thing to look at from last year, right? We forget the part where he was struggling before he got sick, but he might have just got worn out, and 2 or 3 weeks rest that he had, that might have been what made him fresh enough to go on that crazy run, you know? Hey, brother Time. There you go, buddy. Thank you, brother Time. He says the team is just toying with us. They know when to turn the switch. I 95% agree with that statement. The thing that makes me a little bit queasy is I would have thought that last night on the road in Toronto, I would have thought that would have been a game where the guys got together and said, okay, let's practice our playoff hockey. You know what I mean? If you're not going to get sky high for some of these other games, I understand that. But the way we came out in those first 2 periods last night, that gives me a little bit of concern. Like, they must be really, really, all 5 reallys, they must be really confident to not even take last night as an opportunity to practice playoff hockey, right? Eyes, you can't. What was my prediction for this team before this season? I don't remember, but oddly enough, I picked the Canes to win the cup. And based on everything I've seen right now in these last few weeks, if I had to make my playoff preview videos right now, I would probably stick with what I said. That doesn't mean I don't believe the Panthers. But you see what believing in the Panthers got me last year. So I'm not going to just pick the Panthers because I want them to win so badly. So right now, I would have to say I probably haven't wavered from what I said. I said the Canes would win the cup. So wouldn't that suck if that's if I finally get it right, but it was the Canes? Eyes. Meadow says, what concerns me is the coach said they'd put a lot of effort into this game in the pregame. Maybe he just meant the third period. The room is bugged. The room is clearly bugged. If you watch the recap, I stood there in the pregame and I said, just give me one good period. Just play a full 20 minutes in the third period. Now, they did not follow my instructions, however, because I told them to only go down by 2, and they went down by 4. But they did exactly what I asked. What I wanted to see was one period of hockey where they look like they should in the playoffs. Now, I know we got 3 goals last night in that third, but they looked a lot better than they did in the first and the second. But let's not pretend like they looked like we would need them to look in the playoffs, right? That third period was more about Toronto almost blowing the lead. I mean, we look good, don't get me wrong, but they're still out of whack. It's still everybody on this stream knows when this team is doing it right, when they're playing right, you can see all 5 skaters and they're just moving in unison with each other. And when the defenseman goes back, the F3 comes out and covers, and you can just watch it. And right now it's a bunch of chickens with no heads out there on the ice most of the time. Right? Jake says, you remember when no one liked Stolarz? My have the times. Yeah, no, that's true. He worked on that rebound control. Stolarz is a really good example of a guy that worked on what the problem was in the middle of the season and really fixed it. Because the first month or two, he was in position. He'd make the saves, but the rebounds would just be terrible. But that just kind of shows the atmosphere that these guys are in, where a goalie can work on that in the middle of the season, be the backup. And now, I mean, you see his numbers. He's playing out of his mind. Trey, you think Jake locked you while you were sleeping? Taunt says Maurice is too calm for this not to be an act they are putting on. Yeah. I want that to be right, man. I want that to be right. Right? Chris, you think Stolarz still gives up too many rebounds? It's still a lot better. He's way better than he was. I mean, look at his numbers, right? Even when Bob's numbers have slipped off, Stolarz is still playing pretty well. You know, I mean, the one save he made last night was exactly the type of save we needed. It was the one that was early on that Bob didn't make. Trey says he went on a block spree with the negative Nancy's. He's done it before, and I somehow got included. But here's the thing. I was literally asleep the game. He did it on the stream, but asleep. Jeremy says that third period is kind of why we shouldn't be worried. They probably looked at each other up the second period and were like, all right, let's stop coasting. Playoffs can't start soon enough. I agree in terms of the playoffs need to start, Jeremy. There's no doubt about that. Braga, yeah, he says Benny scored last night. He needs to stop. He needs to stop needing to prove that he can fight. Yeah, I follow what you're saying. He doesn't score a lot, but um, look, the one thing I'll say is is boy, oh boy, Tarasenko woke up, right? He must, again, the house must be bugged, because if you were on the stream about 5 minutes before Tarasenko basically exploded in that third period, I was talking about the lineup with him even at on the third line, and I said, quote, it's not like Tarasenko's doing anything. And I'm telling you, the room, the house is bugged, because it wasn't but 5 minutes later when he went batshit crazy. So the coaches heard it and they had to relay the message to him. Today, Josh says you suck, and the next thing you know, we'll be okay, right? Praga says, do I agree? Tarasenko, Forsling, Lomberg, even Lundell played well. So I'm going to say something about Lundell that might shock you all. And no, there's nobody back here with any weapons making me say that. But as I look at the cap issues and everything else like that, if we did decide to move on from Lundell, I would have no problem with our third line next year being Luosterainen, Samoskevich, and Tarasenko, and you just pay Tarasenko with Lundell's money. I'm just saying, if we make that switch, if that's one of the ways that Zito goes, I don't think it's going to happen because he's an RFA. But if they wanted to give Tarasenko Lundell's money, I mean, I like Luosterainen. To me, is a better player. I don't know. I mean, Lundell plays fantastic on defense, but dude, just, I mean, we saw it the other night in the shootout. He hit the goal. He went 5-hole. I know he was going 5-hole, but I've not seen a guy just struggle so hard to just put it in the net just one time. Hey, thank you, AJ. Good morning, buddy. Member for 13 months. Much appreciated, buddy. Let me take a sip of water here. Trade Lundell for McKinnon. Lundell had 18. Trey Lundell had 18 goals in the President's Trophy season, 12 last year, and then I don't even think he's gonna have 10 this year. Does he have 10 yet? Bolvar says, watch the Sharks, offer sheet him, and the Panthers go, nah, take him, have fun in San Jose. You would trade Rodriguez? Well, again, if they're going to use that money on Tarasenko, okay, sure. If you're going to take that money, if you want to go Lundell, Luosterainen, Tarasenko, sure, right? But then you got to find a way to fit Samoskevich in too, right? No, AJ, he is. Erod is, I mean, the move that he made last night, he made a couple of ridiculous moves. And then it just, he beats the goalie and it goes off the damn post. And that would have been the game. I know that only would have made it 5-4, but that was with like 11 or 12 minutes left. We had just gotten that third goal. If we make that 5-4 at that point, we're at least getting that sucker to overtime. Trey says, remember when Lundell and Knight were the most untouchable players on the roster? Yeah. I mean, the video where I predicted the Tkachuk trade was because I was so pissed off that people were talking about trading Lundell. I mean, look, I'm not saying I want to get rid of him, but if Zito has Tarasenko in one hand and Lundell in the other and can only keep one, you keep Tarasenko, you put Luosterainen at 3C, in my opinion. And if Lundell goes somewhere else and blossoms, we still got Luosterainen, right? If we had Barkov, Bennett, Luosterainen for however long the core is going to be in, we're in good shape to me. No, that cannot happen. What Trey said, no, definitely not. Somebody ban Trey. No, oh my God, can you imagine that? By the way, I saw somebody made a comment about a 6'8" goalie. I didn't look at it, but I saw the thing. I'll have to look at that a little bit later. But 6'8", huh? Okay. Is he good? Ton says Knight's gone. Hey, True, how you doing, buddy? Lundell for Tippett. I mean, yes, sure. Lundell for Tippett. And you give me Luosterainen with Tippett and Tarasenko. Huh? Ain't never gonna happen. That ain't never gonna happen. He's from Dartmouth. Okay, yeah, Knight who, right? Yeah, Lundell's not a flyer type player. That's pretty true. He's the number 2 ranked college goalie. Okay. Yeah, so there you go. So Spencer Knight. Oh boy. So Spencer Knight and Lundell. Knight, Lundell, and Samoskevich for McKinnon. What do you say? Cooper Black, 6'8", 240? God dang. That's ridiculous. Holy crap. Jeez. Yeah, Nick, true. Yeah, Bubba needs a little bit of a break. Bubba definitely needs a little bit of a break. Kenneth said, still not overly impressed with the Leafs. Play that game again, posts and goal line saves become goals. We lose. Kulikov even had 3 assists. You barely escaped. Yeah, look. With the Leafs, though, is Woll the guy or is Luggage the guy? I call him Luggage because his name is rotated between Samsonov and Samsonov. I can never get it right, so I just call him Luggage. But who's your number 1? Is it Woll or is it the suitcase? Yeah, 6'8". Yeah, he could play in the NBA. That's crazy, man. So 58 says, I haven't been able to watch the past handful of games. What's with the losing all the time? Well, they are either just coasting into the playoffs. They genuinely look like they don't care. Like even when they lose, they're like, we'll look at the film. Don't worry about it. I mean, they have checked out, and it shows because a lot of the mistakes that they're making are mental, right? It's not like we're losing the board battles. We're not even engaging in the board battles. We're just standing there letting the other teams go get the puck. So, I mean, what I hope is when we're raising the cup, when we're all running around screaming and raising the cup, I hope that Maurice comes out and says that was our plan. We decided in the first week of March we were just going to stop playing and rest and relax and gear up for the playoff run, and this is why. I hope IDK. Yeah, 58 says, I was wondering how much of those score lines is playing lazy. Yeah, it was the defense has just been bad all the way around. It's just been bad. It is what it is. True says they have a lot on their shoulders because everyone is expecting them to win this year, and it might be going through their heads. You know, they're still the favorites in Vegas. Chris says, raising the cup, Jaws, the weed is strong today. All right, let me just check my phone here real quick because I know, okay. Because Nick is going to be here in about 90 minutes, I think. Yeah, Eyes. Yeah, I saw that. His comment about the penalties. He says he's asked for more PK time when the league has been good about that. Yep. Let's see. Bolvar says, funny scenario. Canucks, Panthers, Stanley Cup Final Series. The entire time they say Luongo, the Canucks legend, then simply refer to him as a Panthers management guy. Yeah, that's true. McGrovin says, I like the effort in the third, but it's ridiculous that they're only trying when their backs are against the wall. Yeah. Um, like Chris keeps saying, it's bad habits. It's bad habits. And like Kyle was saying last night, and again, he was talking about it with me this morning. Um, you got to beat the crap out of Montreal. These next two games, you got Montreal and you got Ottawa, and we need to beat the crap out of those two teams, and then try to get right against Boston. You know what I mean? Try to get right against Boston, and then we've got Senators, Jackets, Sabres. So I mean, maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're just looking at these competitive games and figuring they're going to play hard in the games where it won't get too physical. I mean, it could be strategic, but it's risky as hell, in my opinion. All right, let me catch. I saw a couple things here. Jameson says, "Do we need another monster Kachuk postseason to make another cup run, or can anyone else step up other than Barkov or Reinhardt?" Well, Tarasenko stepped up last night, though. Jameson, he definitely stepped up. What we need first off is we need to hear that Verhaeghe is okay, right? Tom says, absolutely no one on any of the major networks in the hockey guy believe the Panthers are in trouble. I mean, I'm scarred from last year, right? In fact, yesterday I caught a bit of my game 4 recap from Vegas. And we're going into the third period down 3-1 in game 4, and I'm watching myself on camera, and I was completely there was no doubt in my mind, my heart, my soul. There was no doubt that we were coming back and winning that game. So I don't count my opinion because I'm just overly biased in terms of whether or not we're going to win the cup or lose in the first round. I don't see the team as clearly as I would like to. Progress is 58, wrist injury or jammed it. I saw George says it was a shoulder, but either way, hopefully he's okay. That's the metal. He needs to stop shaving. Kachuk needs to stop shaving. I agree with that, right? Hey Norman, how you doing, bud? Jeremy says Boston has a tough 4-game stretch coming up. Still a big chance that we win the. Let's see. What are we? We're 2 points behind. We got the same number of games. We have the tiebreaker, so if we're even with them and we beat them, we'd still win the division. So they got So the Bruins have the Preds, and then the Hurricanes on the road. Then they got the Panthers. I guess that's part of the tough schedule. Then they got the Hurricanes again. Then they got the Penguins. Then the Capitals and the Senators. And the Capitals might still be in it. So, yeah, Boston's schedule is definitely not easy. Certainly, they got Preds, Hurricanes, Panthers, Hurricanes. That's a hell of a 4 games in a row. Colin says, the hockey guy says that he's not worried about the Panthers. Then I'm not worried until it's game 1. Right. IDK. McGovern says, I'm not scared of Boston at all. They're an overtime merchant team that's only good when Pastrnak is on the ice. They will not go anywhere in the playoffs. Well, right now they'd be playing Tampa right now, right? Because it's going to be 2-7, right? If Boston wins and Tampa is comfortably in the 7, yeah. Boy, the Flyers better watch out, man. The Flyers are going to screw around and miss the playoffs here. They've lost 5 in a row. That's craziness. Don't underestimate the Habs. They put up a solid fight. They had a good first half of the season. Certainly they did. But they're kind of – I'm surprised that they fell as far as they did. But the Atlantic is a brutal division. Atlantic is an absolutely brutal division. Yeah. Praga says if we lose to the Habs, they can just stay in Canada the rest of the year. Colin says we need a Tampa versus Boston series. It might be that way, right? But like I said last night, either way, for the Panthers, if we got to play Toronto, and then we're gonna have to play the winner of Boston, Tampa. I mean, none of this is easy, right? There's no easiness there. There's no because we blew any chance at the top seed, right? So the Rangers are gonna get either the Capitals or the Flyers, right? So they're gonna wipe the floor with those guys. And then the Canes are going to get either the Flyers or the Capitals. And they're going to wipe the floor. So then you got the Rangers and the Hurricanes. That's going to be a beautiful series. I hope that those games are on the opposite night as if the Panthers are playing. They should be because it's Eastern Conference. Because hopefully that's the series that Kyle and I can cover. Goop says, I love Torts to comment on one of our shit shows like last night. Yeah, Maurice is being awfully calm and quiet about it. So, like somebody gets set up above. Maybe he knows. Maybe he's in on the joke, so to speak, right? Trey says, listen, I'm a Florida man. That means I don't flinch at a hurricane unless it's category 4+. I'll drive in category 3. That's how I feel about the Panthers. Ain't worried until someone is up 3-0. All right. I'll go with Trey's POV there. It's hard to watch. You know what I mean? It's just like it's the third period was enjoyable somewhat, but the other two periods, it's tough to watch. Hey, MJ, how you doing, buddy? Thank you, MJ. Thank you, brother. He says, hey, Jaws, happy Tuesday. Last night was an embarrassment. I'm speechless. Side note, Luke Hunter, the last remaining survivor of Pearl Harbor in 1941, passed away earlier. He was 102. Damn, man. Damn. That's almost as old as I'm going to live. I'm going to live to be 116 years old. I have to live that long because it's going to take me that long to call the Panthers winning a Stanley Cup. Because in 30 years, we managed to win one game. So then we have to wait. Let's see. If in 30 years we win. So yeah, about 100. When I'm 115 years old, that's when the Panthers will finally win a cup. Metal says, who would I rather play, Boston or Tampa? Well, if you're talking round 2, which is what it would be, probably Boston. Only because if we play Tampa in that scenario, that means that Vasilevsky's playing well and in the playoffs. And that's what I would like to avoid. Although Olmark and Swayman, it's not like they're, chump change either. It really is no rather other than Vasilevsky. You know what I mean? But I didn't want to play Boston in the first round too either, right? So there's no, we're not going to get to play the Flyers or the Capitals, Kenneth, who are we beating in the final that year? Probably by then Atlanta's got a team. Or they would probably be in the East, wouldn't they? So we got to pick. Maybe by then there will be a Canadian team that actually makes it to the finals. Although I know Montreal did make it, right? So who are we beating? Oh, maybe it take us that long to beat Vegas, Kenneth. That's probably what it is. It'll take the Panthers that long to beat Vegas. Yeah. Trey says Houston. Okay, maybe. Maybe that's true. Maybe that'll work out. True says the World War II veteran that was at the game that Kyle and who with Brother Gene was 104. Damn, man. Trey says it's definitely been shitty hockey to watch, but I'm not going to pretend it hasn't been. But let these jabronis raise a banner for regular season games. I've seen that movie before. I like Trey's attitude. Braga says we'll beat the Salt Lake City Salt Dogs. Who says last night in our play against the Red Wings was just ugly. We've been mentally checked out. That's the thing. I mean, absolutely. That pass, the cross ice pass that Kulikov made that led to that first goal. I mean, we're just going to assume he would never do that in the playoffs, right? We're just going to assume because there's not much behind them. Merhura, Balinskis, okay. This guy Bornfoot, but these are the guys. You know what I mean? These are definitely the guys that we have. So, the guys, let me know if you hear any updates on Verhaeghe. Did we travel last night? I would assume we would have traveled last night, so I don't know if they have a morning skate or not tonight. Yeah, Praga, exactly. Kulikov thought he was Uyghur for a minute. He had a bad night, man. he had a rough night. I know it's hard to laugh about it, but and then Nick has a good point. He says you can't change the lines up every game continuously, unexpected to win, to have to build chemistry. Right. Now Maurice did say that he was going to do that, and then he was going to put our playoff lines out there against Boston. And that would be Saturday's game. So, I mean, there is that part to it. Last night he only did it because Verhaeghe got hurt, right? They didn't talk about Cousins being hurt. I know they called Cousins a healthy scratch, but like I said in the previous game, he took a knee, something was wrong with him, and then he went to the locker room and he came back only when it was time for the shootout. So he might have only been off the ice last night because he's dealing with something that they're just going to let it heal up and rest. I have a feeling that when we get to game one of the playoffs, you're going to see Barkov, Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Bennett with Tkachuk and Cousins, Lundell, Luostarinen, Tarasenko, and Stenlund with Lomberg and probably Gadjevich. I think that'll be the guys. I don't think Okpozo's going to be on the ice unless, we absolutely have to have him. Ton says, to be fair, they're doing exceptionally well shuffling the lines every shift, right? Yeah, and the changes have been weird too. Like yesterday, Lomberg, Gadjevich, and Tkachuk were on the ice at the same time for a couple of minutes. Chris says Cousins is preparing to not play against Columbus. Goody is looking for revenge. When is that game? Oh, hold on a second. That's next week, right? That's next week. Yeah, we play the Jackets on the 11th. Yeah. MJ, no, I know the changes have definitely not always worked, but it would help. It would help if Rodriguez could ever put the puck in the net. Just like, how hard can it be, man? Just every once in a while, please just put it in the back of the net. Metal says, I don't like why they scratch Gotcha and Lomberg. They have energy that sometimes ramps up the other players. Yeah. I think he wanted to get get him into a few games, because if any of these guys have to play in the playoffs, I think he didn't want it to be where Lorenz had been sitting for months. He didn't play poorly. And he might be on the ice in that first game. Hey, Vincent. He says, hey, Jaws, the thing with Maurice that I don't understand, they weren't playing good for a few months. They were getting wins, but all these bad habits were cemented. What gives? I mean, I'm not. They weren't tearing it up on offense, but defensively, we played like 18 games where we didn't allow more than 2 goals. Hey, thank you, Dave. Much appreciated. Don says Erod doesn't need this. Went too fast on me. He says Erod doesn't need to score. He gains the zone so easy that Barkov and Reinhart take care of that. Of the rest, that's the best line in the NHL. Kyle just turned on the vacuum cleaner. Is that vacuum cleaner too loud for you guys? Let me know. Kenneth says when Florida gets physical, the Panthers win. Leafs will win. No one cares most games. Right. Yeah, I mean, the Panthers are definitely not going to get physical right now. That's for sure. Chris says their passes were tape to tape and not being fumbled like they have been since the trade deadline. All right. Thank you, Metal. Well, look, I hope Trey is right. We'll put it that way. I hope Trey is right. But maybe we'll do it in reverse last year, right? No, Dana. Nick offered to order pizza, so we're gonna have pizza tonight. Well, maybe we'll do it in reverse. Last year, no matter what I saw, I said we were gonna win the cup, and you see what happened. So maybe this year I should do the opposite and just have a bad attitude about it and see if that works out. Trey says, "Of course I'm right." There was a comment that I meant to get to, but I missed it. No, I was still talking about what Ton said about that being the best line in the NHL. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, Rodriguez is on the team. I don't think he's going anywhere. I know he plays so it's just so frustrating that just every once in a while. I mean, could you just put it in the net? Just 1 out of 10 of those chances, right? Vincent wants to know why haven't we seen E2 with Bennett and Kachuk this year? Since he went down in the playoffs last year, they didn't try it. He's a D anchor for that line. So you thought Luosterainen with Bennett, Kachuk. I think we saw it like one game when we had injuries. The problem is that if you do that, then who are you putting next to Lundell? Right? I think because you could put Cousins next to Bennett and Kachuk and it works. If you could put E2 there, sure. But then who are you going to put next to Lundell? Erod and Tarasenko. So, well, Erod already has a long-term contract, MJ. Erod already had we signed him for term. So what's that? Lundell with Erod and Tarasenko. So then that's Verhaeghe with Barkov and Reinhardt, and then Bennett with Luosterainen, Kachuk, and then what was the last one that you had there? Lundell with Erod and Tarasenko. Okay, I'll bite on that, Vincent. So you put Luosterainen in that spot that I keep wanting Cousins. Reinhardt up top, Luosterainen, Bennett, Kachuk, Tarasenko, Lundell. Okay, yeah, I'll agree with that. I like that. Yeah. That's not a bad idea. Sure. That might actually work. Yeah, okay. Sure. Well, it's long term around here, Chris. If you look at the guys that we have signed, 2 more years is long term around here, right? What do we need? 11 guys? 11 guys need contracts? Yeah, Vincent, that's a good line. Yeah, Lundell, Tarasenko, Rodriguez. Colin says anything is better than watching the Marlins right now. Ton says Cousins realistically needs to be a co-captain with Alpe in the AHL. Dave, in Florida, 2 years is long term around here. We don't have any, especially if you're a defender, right? MJ says, Jaws, I hate to say it, but 5 years from now, it's going to be a much different lineup. Oh, sure. Barkov will still be around. I don't know if we have Bennett that long. Remember, Bennett needs a contract next year, and then it and then it I'm getting distracted right now by Kyle's talking upstairs. Yeah, MJ says 2 years feels like an eternity sometimes, right? Oh, Meadow wants Bennett, Kachuk, McDavid. Okay. And then Trey Scott, Lomberg, Stenley, Gadjevich with the rest of those lines. I was trying, Dave. It's hard for me to talk when they're talking upstairs. All the sound travels in this house. So I'm trying to talk out of my right ear, but I hear everything going on upstairs in my left ear. I'm old. It's hard for me to focus. So Tom says, I love Cousins, but he's just too beat up. He's too tough. Look, Cousins won't be on the team next year anyway. That's why they re-signed Gadjevich. Cousins doesn't have a contract for next year. So Gadjevich, in my opinion, I think he's 25, 26. So he's going to be that Cousins replacement. Braga says, I think Reinhart will go, but we get another rising star from amongst the rising star free agents. Either will be on it. Gensel if free. I don't know, man. I don't think so. I don't think he's gonna go. If he's willing, we can give him 9.5. We can find that, especially if we move on from Montour. So we might be able to pull that off. How much more is he gonna want? Is he gonna want to leave over? I mean, I know it's easy for me to say, right? But yeah, no, we could find 9, maybe 9.5 to give him. I don't think they're going to give him more than Kachuk, right? So, what I would like to see happen is, I don't know if this will happen, but what I'd like to see happen is regular season ends, and in those couple of days between regular season and the playoffs, we get the Reinhart contract. Who else? We already got Forsling. If we get the Reinhart contract done, then you extend and then you get a Tarasenko extension, 2 times 3. Right? Jameson says consensus is Reinhart deal will eventually get done. Reinhart wants the whole franchise. SoFlo says, talk me off the ledge, thinking this team is cooked and will lose the Battle of Florida in the first round yet again. Well, right now, we're not going to be in the Battle of Florida because if we continue this pace, we're going to be in 3rd place and we'll have to go to the Leafs, who will get 2nd place. So, does that work for you? Does that work for you? Look, they're either going to turn it on or they're not. I mean, I don't think anybody has any delusions that they could win a playoff game playing the way they've been playing, let alone a playoff round. They are either consciously, purposefully holding it all in until the playoffs, or something is really, really wrong. And I just have a hard time believing, considering the way Maurice is acting about it and the way the guys are giving their interviews, the players and coaches don't really seem to be all that worried. So I'm gonna roll with that attitude from them. You know what I mean? MJ says the Jaws 3 people we need to lock up are Ekblad, Reinhart, and Tarasenko, but that's just you. Well, we already got Forsling, right? Ekblad is next year. Don't forget MJ. Verhaeghe and Bennett, they're on the last year of their contracts next year. Civil says, yeah, well, Okposo isn't even in our regular season lineup. He'd better be a better fit on a tanking team. He looked kind of slow out there. I hate to say it. He looked kind of slow out there. Jameson says Okposo will sign a 3-year deal with Arizona this July, right? Yeah, he played a lot in Buffalo, but he just didn't look like he could keep up. It's a shame because when he did get the puck in the zone, his puck handling skills and his ability to keep it in the zone looked really, really good. But he'd be 2 and 3 strides behind the rest of the team, and that's tough to play in this system, and you can't really do that, right? Yeah, Verhaeghe too. Exactly, MJ. Verhaeghe is the one. That's the guy I'd be concerned about, right? I think Reinhardt, 9.5, but Verhaeghe, again, because Reinhardt has been getting paid already. Verhaeghe has not really been getting paid. Verhaeghe's going to want big time money, and those are going to be harder contracts to dish out because you can't lose Bennett. You absolutely have to have Bennett for Tkachuk. Unless the plan is Barkov, Luosterainen, Lundell. Unless that's the plan, I mean, eventually we won't be able to pay everybody. Eventually you're going to have to make room for a Samoskevich or a Sordev, but well, you never know. The way Zito, I mean, he got Forsling to take, 50 cents on the dollar. You know what I mean? Colin says, yeah, talk to Tkachuk's dad to get the team fired up. I ain't no joke about that, right? So, Praga, yeah, tough on the boards. Okposo, tough on the boards. Good puck retrieval. Doesn't back down, but he's too late into the zone. It's a shame, too. Dave says Leafs coach was saying he'd put kids out there to see how they would do in the tough spots. Leafs know it's going to be a hard series versus the Panthers. It's looking like that's the way it's going to go, right? Yep. Ton says, you drop Knight, Cousins, cap hike, everyone can stay. Yes, that's true, Tons. If they move on from Knight and Cousins, there's money for everybody if everybody takes a team-friendly deal. If Reinhardt wants to get paid, that's going to cost us Montour. And I'll be okay with that. Civil says, wild prediction here. Verhaeghe isn't getting signed. Bennett is getting signed, and then we're re-signing Monty for 5 years just to trade him. IDK says, also what's really discouraging is that the Leafs are missing core guys. We were 100% and still couldn't be competitive for a full 60. Yeah. Hey, look. I mean, there's not much left that we could say. We're going to find out soon enough, right? When's the first playoff game? The 20th, right? 19th, 20th. So we got 2 weeks. We got 2 weeks to figure it out. They're either going to play like ass the rest of the way and coast in, or they're going to turn it on tonight and maybe play one hard-nosed game, right? But they're definitely trying to preserve their body parts. And if they win the whole thing, if they manage to win the whole thing, the only thing that they're not preserving is Bubba. Right now, we should be riding Stolars a little bit. Hey, MJ, thank you, MJ. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. MJ says, hold on. This is just me, but I think we're getting rid of Mahura, Stenlin, and Okposo, big free agent signing coming this summer. Well, none of those guys have. No, Mahura has another year, but he's like minimum wage. Stenlin, I think, is a 1-year deal, and Okposo was just a free agent. The Stenlin thing, that's going to depend on how some of these other contracts go, especially if we move on from Lundell. If that happens, I think we keep Stenlin to be 4C next year again. So Vincent says Verhaeghe's a one-sided player, terrible on D. Most of his goals are individual, and that's why he's not consistently with Barkov. Terrible on defense is a bit harsh. He's just not as exceptional. We have a core forward group that's exceptional defensively. Barkov, Reinhardt, Bennett, Tkachuk, Lundell, Luosterainen. Those are not normal defensive players. Those are all in the upper echelon of defensive forwards. So by comparison, Verhaeghe looks bad, but in reality, he's probably just average defensively. Sean says, yeah, imagine calling 9.25 minimum wage. Anything under $1 million. Hey, don't let the hockey guys, don't let them see the football salaries, right? Some of these guys get paid 3/4 of the whole cap for the hockey teams. Hey, Christian. Vincent still says terrible. Christian, yeah, we were talking about him. Cooper Black, he's 6'8". 6'8". Tom says Lundell is only going to Dallas if he moves at all. He says his family has tickets to the Finland game next year. Hey, look, he's an RFA, so we basically can control him. But we got to get Reinhart signed. That's the key. How much is he going to take? And then everybody slots him below him, right? Yeah, most people don't see 9.25 ever. Yeah, ain't not kidding about that. Great White, no, I think we're going to see Stolarz tonight, and then hopefully we see Stolarz for a few games and let Bubba get some rest. So, all right, everybody, I got to take off. Nick is going to be here in about an hour. Got to get some lunch. Got to get things prepared. Nick will be here with us on the stream tonight. He'll take this seat, or maybe we'll put him in the recliner, and I'll sit next to Kyle. We'll see how that goes. So. All right, everybody. Appreciate all the support. Thank you all for joining me. And yeah, we'll see you again in 6.5 hours. Super Strike says Leafs about to pass the Panthers. It could have. Hey, like I said last night, Super. If the Leafs pass the Panthers, all that means is now we start out on the road, which, to be honest with you, the way the Panthers play at home, I'd rather start out on the road. So it is what it is. All right, everybody. Appreciate it all, and we'll see you all again tonight.